When scientists first invented the laser back in 1960, they made a discovery that would change everything we know about power and focus. They found that individual light particles, when they were scattered and chaotic, could barely light up a room. But when those exact same particles moved in perfect harmony, it's not perfect harmony. They became so powerful they could cut through steel, perform surgery, and even reach the moon. Now, here's the thing that blew my mind when I first learned this. Your manifestation power works exactly the same way. Most people are trying to manifest like a scattered flashlight when they could be operating like a laser beam. And today, I'm going to show you the quantum physics behind why your manifestations sometimes work like magic and sometimes feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. So here's what we are covering. We're going to explore quantum coherence, the same principle that makes lasers, MRI machines, and quantum computers work, and how it directly applies to manifestation. You'll discover why having your mind want one thing, your emotions feel another, and your energy scattered everywhere is like trying to cut steel with birthday candles. And by the end, you'll have practical techniques to align these three forces into one powerful manifestation laser. But here's what's really fascinating, and I'll tell you more about this later. There's another quantum principle called the uncertainty principle that completely flips manifestation on its head. It explains why chasing your desires actually pushes them away, and why embracing uncertainty creates more certainty. But let's start with coherence first. Alright, let's dive into what quantum coherence actually means. Because once you understand this, everything about manifestation starts making sense. Imagine you're listening to an orchestra where every musician is playing a different song at a different tempo. It's chaos, right? No matter how talented each individual musician is, the result is just noise. But when those same musicians play in harmony, following the same rhythm, the same key, suddenly you have something beautiful and powerful. This is exactly what happens in quantum coherence. Individual particles that seem random and weak suddenly become incredibly powerful when they synchronize their behavior. In physics, we call this constructive interference. Instead of canceling each other out, they amplify each other's power. Let me give you some real-world examples that might blow your mind. Lasers work because photons are all vibrating in perfect sync. That's why a laser pointer, using the same amount of energy as a regular light bulb, can create a focused beam that travels miles. Superconductors allow electricity to flow without any resistance because electrons move in coherent pairs. And quantum computers, which can solve problems that would take regular computers millions of years, work because quantum bits exist in coherent superposition. The famous physicist David Bohm, who worked alongside Einstein, spent his entire career studying what he called wholeness and the implicate order. He discovered that when systems achieve coherence, they don't just become more efficient. They tap into an entirely different level of reality where what we call miracles become normal. Now, here's where it gets interesting for manifestation. Your consciousness isn't separate from these quantum principles. Your thoughts are energy, your emotions are energy, and your overall vibration creates interference patterns just like those particles in a physics lab. In the comments, drop one word that captures where your energy feels most scattered right now. Maybe it's work, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's money. Let this be your awareness checkpoint because you can't align what you don't acknowledge. Think about this. When you want something desperately with your mind, but your emotions are full of doubt and fear, and your daily actions are completely misaligned with your desire, you're creating what physicists call destructive interference. Your different energy frequencies are literally canceling each other out. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly, while others struggle for years with the same techniques. It's not about luck or being special, it's about coherence. Dr. Joe Dispenza has done groundbreaking research on heart-brain coherence using scientific equipment to measure people's electromagnetic fields. What he found is mind-blowing. When someone's heart rhythms, brain waves, and nervous system sync up, their energy field becomes measurably more powerful and organized. But here's the kicker. In this coherent state, people consistently report that their manifestations happen faster and more accurately. The ancient Hindu concept of satsang teaches the same principle. Satsang means gathering in truth, and it refers to the incredible power that emerges when individual consciousness aligns with universal consciousness. It's not just spiritual philosophy, it's quantum physics described in ancient language. You know that feeling when an athlete talks about being in the zone? That's coherence. Their mind is focused, their emotions are confident, and their body is perfectly coordinated. In that state, they perform at levels that seem impossible. Tiger Woods described it perfectly when he said that in his best rounds, it felt like the ball was drawn to the hole by some invisible force. This isn't coincidence. This is quantum coherence in action. Now, there's another quantum principle that explains why trying too hard actually blocks your manifestations. It's called the uncertainty principle, and when you understand it, you'll never force your desires again. But more on that in a bit. If this is starting to make sense, if you're seeing why your manifestations sometimes work and sometimes don't, hit subscribe and the bell icon. Join our manifestation club on gogetter.au because you're not just learning about coherence, you're stepping into a community that practices it together. Your transformation accelerates when you're surrounded by others vibrating at the same frequency. Let me break down what I call the 3 pillars of manifestation coherence, because this is where the rubber meets the road. First pillar, mental coherence. This means your thoughts are clear, focused, and aligned with your desire without contradicting beliefs running in the background. Here's what most people miss. It's not enough to think positive thoughts if you have unconscious beliefs that contradict them. It's like trying to drive forward while pressing the brake at the same time. Mental coherence means your conscious desires and your subconscious beliefs are singing the same song. When someone truly has mental coherence around money, for example, they don't just affirm that they're wealthy. They genuinely believe they deserve wealth, they can handle wealth, and wealth flows naturally to them. Second pillar, emotional coherence. This is about feeling aligned with your desire without being desperate for it. There's a huge difference between the emotion of having something and the emotion of needing something. The emotion of having something feels peaceful, confident, grateful. The emotion of needing something feels anxious, urgent, empty. When you're emotionally coherent, you feel good about your desire before it manifests. You're not trying to get something to feel better, you feel better first, and then it comes. Third pillar, energetic coherence. This is where your actions, environment, and energy match your vision. If you want to manifest a loving relationship, but your house is cluttered with reminders of past heartbreaks, you're creating energetic incoherence. If you want to manifest abundance, but you constantly complain about money and hoard things out of fear, your energy is scattered. Energetic coherence means your whole life becomes a reflection of what you're calling in. Napoleon Hill understood this when he wrote about the mastermind principle in Think and Grow Rich. He discovered that when individuals align their mental, emotional, and energetic frequencies toward a common goal, they tap into what he called infinite intelligence. That's just another way of describing quantum coherence. Comment down below which of these 3 pillars feels weakest for you right now. Mental, emotional, or energetic coherence. Be honest with yourself and our community. Sometimes naming where we're out of alignment is the first step to getting back in. Now let's talk about the science behind why this actually works, because understanding the mechanism makes it so much more powerful. In quantum field theory, there's something called the observer effect. This means that the act of conscious observation actually influences how energy behaves at the quantum level. But here's what most people don't understand. It's not just any observation. It's coherent observation that creates coherent results. The Institute of HeartMath has done over 30 years of research on physiological coherence, and their findings are incredible. When your heart rhythms become coherent, it affects your brain waves, your hormones, your immune system, and even your DNA expression. But more than that, they've measured how coherent individuals actually influence the electromagnetic fields of people around them. This connects to the science of mirror neurons and what researchers call collective consciousness. When you achieve internal coherence, you literally become a tuning fork that helps others find their own coherent frequency. The ancient Egyptians had a concept called Math, which represented cosmic order and perfect alignment. They understood that when an individual achieved Math, they weren't just improving their own life, they were contributing to the harmony of the entire universe. Modern quantum physics is proving they were right. Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life searching for what he called the unified field theory. He believed that all forces in the universe were different expressions of one fundamental energy. He once said, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality." What Einstein was describing is coherence at a universal level. Here's what I want you to understand. When you achieve coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and energy, you're not just using some manifestation technique. You're aligning with the fundamental operating system of reality itself. Now, let me give you some practical techniques you can use today to create this coherence. These aren't just feel-good exercises. They are based on the same principles that make lasers and quantum computers work. First technique, the coherence check. This is a simple 3-minute practice you can do anytime you feel scattered. Close your eyes and ask yourself 3 questions. What does my mind truly want right now? What do my emotions truly feel right now? What is my energy actually focused on right now? Most people are shocked when they realize their mind wants success, their emotions feel fear of failure, and their energy is focused on scrolling social media. Just this awareness begins the alignment process. Second technique, the thought-feeling bridge. This is about creating coherence between your mental and emotional states. Instead of trying to force yourself to feel good about something you don't believe, start by finding thoughts that naturally generate the emotions you want. If you want to feel abundant but saying "I am rich" feels fake, try something like "I am always taken care of" or "money flows to me in perfect timing." Find the thought that creates the feeling, not the thought you think you should think. Third technique, environmental coherence. Your environment is constantly communicating with your subconscious mind. If you want to manifest a new level of success, but your workspace is chaotic and your home is filled with objects that remind you of struggle, you're creating mixed signals. Start small. Clear one drawer, organize one corner, add one item that represents your vision. Your external environment should support your internal transformation. Fourth technique, the laser focus technique. When you feel your energy scattered in 10 different directions, imagine gathering all that energy into one focused beam. Literally visualize your scattered energy as scattered light particles coming together into one powerful laser beam pointing toward your desire. This isn't just imagination, you're actually reorganizing your electromagnetic field. Fifth technique, coherence anchoring. Choose a physical object, a gesture, or a word that you only use when you're in a coherent state. Maybe it's touching your heart center, maybe it's a specific piece of jewelry, maybe it's saying the word alignment. Use this anchor only when your thoughts, emotions, and energy are genuinely aligned. Over time, this anchor will help you quickly return to coherence whenever you need it. Here's something important. You'll know you're in a coherent state because it feels effortless. There's no struggle, no forcing, no desperation. There's just a quiet confidence and a sense of rightness. Many people describe it as feeling like they're flowing with life instead of fighting against it. Now, let's talk about why most people stay incoherent. Because understanding this will help you break free from the patterns that keep you stuck. We're conditioned from childhood to have internal conflicts. We are taught to want success but not be greedy, to be confident but not arrogant, to dream big but be realistic. These contradictory messages create what I call coherence killers. Society rewards scattered energy because scattered people are easier to control and market to. Someone who's truly coherent, who knows what they want and feels aligned with it, doesn't need external validation or endless consumption to feel complete. The comfort zone of chaos is real. Many people are actually more comfortable with scattered energy because it feels familiar. Coherence can feel unfamiliar and even scary at first because it comes with a sense of power and responsibility that we are not used to. When you start aligning your energy, you might face resistance from others who are used to your scattered state. This is normal. As the great poet Rumi said, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle had a concept called entelechy, which means becoming what you're meant to become. He understood that everything in nature has a coherent pattern trying to express itself, and humans are no exception. Your desires aren't random. They are your soul's blueprint trying to express itself through you. When you align with this blueprint, you tap into what Aristotle called your essential nature. This is why manifestation isn't about getting stuff, it's about becoming who you're meant to be. And who you're meant to be is someone whose thoughts, emotions, and energy work together in perfect harmony. What's one thing you truly want to manifest? And why is it important to you? Drop it in the comments. I'm giving away 2 one-on-one free sessions to help you bring it to life through coherence practices. Be honest, be you. Let me share something about advanced coherence that most people never discover. When you consistently maintain coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and energy, something extraordinary happens. You start living from your future self instead of your past self. In quantum physics, there's a principle called superposition, which means that particles exist in multiple potential states simultaneously until they're observed. Your life works the same way. Right now, there are multiple potential versions of your future existing in superposition. When you're incoherent, scattered across different timelines and possibilities, you collapse random potentials into reality. But when you're coherent, focused on one clear vision with aligned thoughts, emotions, and energy, you consistently collapse the potential that matches your coherent frequency. This is why people who achieve mastery in any field, whether it's business, relationships, health, or creativity, all describe the same thing. They reach a point where they stop trying to get somewhere and start being someone. They stop living from their current circumstances and start living from their vision. The role of certainty versus attachment is crucial here. Certainty is a coherent state, you know what you want, and you trust it's coming. Attachment is an incoherent state, you know what you want, but you're desperate for it because you don't trust it's coming. Certainty feels peaceful, attachment feels urgent. Certainty allows, attachment pushes, certainty attracts, attachment repels. This is where that other quantum principle I mentioned earlier becomes crucial, the uncertainty principle. But we'll dive deep into that in the next video because it completely changes how you should approach your desires. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. There's another quantum principle that completely changes how you should approach manifestation. It's called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and it explains why the harder you chase something, the more it seems to slip away. Most people think they need to control every detail of how their manifestation will unfold, but quantum physics shows us that too much observation and control actually interferes with the natural process. In the next video, I'll reveal how embracing uncertainty actually creates more certainty in your manifestations. It sounds backwards, but wait until you see the signs. I'll show you why the people who manifest the most amazing things are often the ones who hold their desires lightly, and how what physicists call the observer effect explains why desperate energy pushes away the very thing you want most. If you felt even 1% more aligned after this, hit subscribe and the bell icon. This isn't just a channel, it's a frequency. Join our manifestation club on gogetter.au and become part of a global community transforming how we create reality. Share this video with someone who's been struggling with manifestation. You might just be the breakthrough they've been waiting for. Your act of sharing creates positive energy that amplifies your own manifestation power. Remember, you're not trying to force the universe to give you what you want. You're aligning yourself to become the person who naturally receives it. There's a big difference, and that difference is coherence. Next week, we're diving deep into why letting go actually brings your desires closer. Click the next video to discover how uncertainty becomes your manifestation superpower and why the quantum field responds better to trust than to control.